Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to the February 26th City Council meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum. I will say Alderman Fleming is sick with the flu this evening, and I believe Alderman Braithwaite will be joining us shortly. Yes. I'd also like to say, on behalf of Mayor Hagerty, I am Mayor Pro Tem this evening. Mayor Hagerty is in Puerto Rico, where he has been asked to come with a group of other U.S. mayors to pair with mayors of cities in Puerto Rico to talk about how they can provide aid and support to them. So he will be coming back to the city and will probably be providing us with a report on how the Puerto Ricans are doing. So he asked that I convey that in his absence. So now we have a roll call. So, Clerk Reed, can you call the roll, please?
Alderman Suffredin. Here. Alderman Ravel. Here. Alderman Rainey. Here. Alderman Fleming. Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Mayor Pro Tem. Alderman Wilson. Here. And Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Here.
Okay. Next, we have several city manager public announcements, or one.
Madam Mayor, Pro Tem, members of the council, good evening. Lawrence Hemingway, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services, is here to give an update on our upcoming Mayor Summer Youth Program interviews and other activities.
Thank you, City Manager. Mayor Pro Tem, Clerk Reed, members of council, Lawrence Hemingway, Director of Parks and Rec. Just want to give a quick reminder to you guys and the community. This coming Saturday, March 3rd, we'll be hosting our annual Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Job Fair at ETHS. We've been working diligently the past several weeks in prepping quite a few of the young people on job readiness, interview skills, resume building, dress code, and those things. We expect over 800 kids to attend the job fair this Saturday. We invite you guys all to come out with us and join us this Saturday as we try to provide gainful employment for our young people here in the community.
And Mr. Hemingway, can you remind us approximately how many jobs into which summer youth were hired?
Over last year we hired over 650 young people here in the community. We have partnerships with various employers, one being Great America, that could hire over 1,000 kids. If we provided, that number of folks. So we have a number of jobs for young people. The jobs are for children ages 14 and 18. And so we're looking forward to a great day this Saturday.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one other announcement as Mayor Pro Tem. On March 9th, the Mayor Hagerty will be providing the annual State of the City address by the mayor. It will be at the Holiday Inn and sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. And if anyone would like to attend, please contact the Chamber of Commerce about purchasing a ticket. All right. So, City Clerk, do we have any communications?
Yeah, I just want to announce again that early voting starts on Monday, March 5th, and will run through March 19th. You can early vote here at the Civic Center, which is 2100 Ridge, of course, in room G300. Next week, early voting will be available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the following week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., with Saturday and Sunday early voting available. Also, you can come into the clerk's office on Mondays and Wednesdays to volunteer to increase voter participation. Some of you we started our texting campaign today, so we're texting folks who don't traditionally come out to vote in primaries, and we're trying to get them informed so they will come out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next item we have is public comment. We have, it looks like about 20 speakers. So I'll name the first three, and if you could line up and then each person take their turn, I would appreciate that. So the first person is.
How long?
Everyone should get 3 minutes. Yes, 3 minutes. First person is it Zoe Lyden? then Verzell James, Glenn Mackey, and Janet Alexander Davis.
Hello, my name is Zoe Lawden. First off, I'd like to congratulate the boys JV hockey team for winning their league championship last Saturday night, and I wish them luck as they continue in playoffs. I'm a senior on the Evanston girls hockey. I've played hockey in Evanston since I was in 3rd grade. Unfortunately, in middle school, I had to go play in Wilmette and Winnetka because there wasn't an opportunity for girls to play for Evanston teams during those years. I've also played Evanston girls lacrosse for many years, as well as soccer, field hockey, and golf. I believe sports are important for girls to develop communication, teamwork, leadership, and many more critical life skills. And when offered in our direct community, the benefits are invaluable. Sports are a great way of empowering young girls and proving they can do anything that boys can do too. In fact, 82% of women in executive positions played organized sports in middle school, high school, or college. Expanding the Robert Crown Community Center would offer more opportunities for girls and boys as well to participate in sports such as ice hockey, soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey. Currently, Evanston is lacking in field space and ice. The girls hockey team only practices 1 week at Robert Crown, and the rest of our practices are located in Northbrook and Wilmette, versus the boys team, who practices around 3 to 4 times at Robert Crown. Other surrounding communities offer their girls teams with much more supports and superior facilities. Such an inconvenience makes it difficult for many in our community to play for Evanston girls hockey. Our team is only a few years old, and we need all the help we can get to continue building it up. As our girls' hockey program expands and other sports programs expands, and we begin to create teams for younger girls, I hope Evanston provides the space to do so. I've learned so much from playing sports in Evanston and wish that others younger than I have the same chances that I've had. The Robert Crown expansion project means a lot to me, my teammates, the rest of the Evanston hockey program, and the community, and we appreciate everything that is being done to continue it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Lydon, you're on your way. Okay, Verzell James.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Verzell James. My family and I have lived at 1719B McDaniel for nearly 25 years. We are directly across from the proposed pumping station at 2525 Church. Standing with me are other citizens directly and indirectly impacted by the project. Together, we represent many affected residents who are unable to attend. According to the city's website, Evanston is a home rule unit operating under council manager form of government to provide health, safety, and welfare of Evanston residents. The city's mission statement says Evanston is committed to promoting the highest quality life for all residents by providing fiscally sound, responsive municipal services and delivering those services equitably, professionally, and with the highest degree of integrity. The website also states Evanston strives to promote transparency in all operations. By providing as much data as possible through our website, residents can better be informed about what is going on in their city. Our research has shown the City Council to be in direct violation of its own codes and zoning rules, including transparency and public notice. As a result, we demand that the city halt any further site development until the community has a chance to review and respond to independent impact studies as they relate to property values and human and environmental effects of the pumping station. We also demand that the City of Evanston provide detailed pumping station specifications that will aid in our evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Mackey.
Council, staff, my name is Glenn Mackey, and I live at 1711 McDaniel. My family has lived at that location for over 25 years. I and other residents that are in the primary impact area of this project are strongly against it. We demand that the historical and new residents in our area of impact with moderate to low incomes, with seniors on fixed incomes, get the same care and consideration that is given to other areas of the community where public projects are being built. The city follows its rules of public notice. We also demand that the city follows its documented rules and procedures equally with transparency and meaningful dialogue. The impact studies that are done by an independent group that will give us comprehensive information on health, environment, and property values. We are exhausted from the officials elected and appointed communicating results without written public notice and a vote, and giving us hypothetical future values. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Janet Alexander Davis. I live at 1726 Leland. My family, that house was built there in 1948, and either some members or myself have lived there ever since. Forgive me, I don't know about my notes here. I can hardly read them. But anyway, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Alderman, City Manager Barkowitz, Assistant Manager Stoley, and Clerk Green. I get it. We're talking about money and we need it. I have been a manager and a site directors, and I've realized the budgets and all of that. And I've owned 3 homes in Evanston, and I understand when we don't have enough money to pay the bills, something has to go or something has to be reduced. My real issue, and it has been for some years, fighting environmental injustices, is the fact of notice, meaningful notice to neighbors. And I don't think that happened here. To me, there's been a real breakdown in making sure neighbors within steps of this major project, that they become aware of it. I know the owner of the property, Water Reclamation Commission, doesn't owe neighbors any notice. However, just being neighborly says let them know what's coming their way, especially after so many years. We have people there 50 years. I get that this is in the winter, and I'm old, I'm 74, and it's not as easy to get out anymore as it used to. And until all of you reach this point in life, you may not really know what we're saying. We have a lot of older people ill, don't use computers. I'm pissed that that's the way, and it seems to be the only way we think meeting other neighbors is getting the word out to them. Oh, just email it. I've said this before with the waste transfer station. The deal was made by the city and the company, yet citizens working on the issue for years didn't even get a chance to speak on the host agreement, which would have been appropriate for citizen input. And anybody that was around for that knows that wasn't enough notice to get involved at all. And I understand, it feels like the process reminds me of when I first started to work. And I thought that HR, Human Resources, I thought they were there to really help me. I didn't really realize they were there to do the paperwork and that they really represented the company. And that's what this feels like. The representation needs to be thorough. It isn't talking to 1 or 2 people in a neighborhood when you know a neighborhood is active and that you need to call a couple of people and they'll get the word out and they'll help you in other things. We need to do something about that, and you know it, and I know it, that there are drops in how information is disseminated here, and you know it. And something needs to really be done about that. Does that mean that we have to, in our neighborhood, have the resources to hire attorneys, to hire project managers, to hire people in order to put together a response to something? This isn't fair. I'm through.
Okay.
I'm through. It's not fair.
Thank you. All right. Next is it Dorothy Head? Then I have David Dixon, Jerry Michelle. Can you tell? Stacy Kelly, possibly? Okay. All right, go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, Evanston Alderman, and whoever else has any interest in this. My name is Dorothy Head, and I live at 1823 Laurel. My husband and I moved from the west side and bought a house in 1975 and raised our son there. He went through District 65 and 202 school systems. I tell you that so you can understand that I have a vested interest in the neighborhood where I live. I'm here to speak to you about the proposed pumping station going at 2525 Church Street. Even though I live only 4 blocks from the 2525 Church Street, I did not know anything about the proposed pumping station until about 3 weeks ago, and I heard that from a friend who lives in Skokie. She told me that their city government had sent letters to all the property owners in the area, inviting them to a special meeting at the library. They were told about the proposal to build a pumping station in the area. She said the homeowners rejected it outright, and the deal She said the homeowners rejected it outright because they felt it would decrease their home values. So if you're wondering why Skokie pulled out of the deal, that's why. First of all, the Skokie officials respected their homeowners enough to call a special meeting, not added to a ward meeting, but a special meeting to let the residents know that what they were proposing. Needless to say, when I heard about the pumping station going in at 2525 Church Street, I was in disbelief because I just knew our city government would give us the same opportunity that Skokie residents receive. The more information I read about, the more it appeared that the deal is done. Our alderman said this pumping station is necessary to help bring more revenue into the city to help reach our goals. I know that the city is in a financial crisis, but I ask you, should the city's financial crisis be borne on the backs of the people who can least afford it? Our property is already assessed at a lower value than any other home like ours in other areas. Needless to say, we feel betrayed and disrespected.
Thank you. David Dixon? Yes, okay. And after David will be Jerry, is it Michelle? Michael?
I'm David Dixon. I live 2 blocks from the proposed site, and 2327 Church Street. And we have problems with smells and all kinds of stuff already. We live 3 blocks from the waste transfer station, and we get smells all the time from there. And now having a pumping station on the other side with possible chlorine smell or whatever chemicals they use, we just are really tired of having to bear all of that in our community. The high school is right in between both places. And that's the worst place to put such a treatment facility or a water pumping station. And then putting a bathroom there. I don't know how much you know about the area, but that area has had problems with people pissing in the trees around there, in the park. drinking with their beer bottles and stuff and leaving trash all over the place. So now you think that it's a great thing that you would put a bathroom there or a latrine there, but no, it's going to cause our community more problems. In terms of putting trying to pacify the community by saying you're going to put a soccer field there, we've never asked for a soccer field. And besides that, do you know how many soccer fields there are at Evanston Township High School, 2 blocks away from that site? There are several fields there. In fact, as most of you probably know, ETHS is required to allow the well-lit field that's the stadium for soccer, football, all kinds of different sports. We already have something in our community 2 blocks away for soccer. We don't need another soccer place. That's not going to make us feel better about it. So we are tired of having our property values go down. We already have lower property values due to the stupid waste transfer station that seems to lurk around and stay around forever. So we're tired. We're tired. And if we're forced to, we will, if you decide to go this step, we will be forced to preserve our property values to do a class action lawsuit. And I am not joking. I'm not trying to threaten you. I'm just trying to say you need to find another place. I don't know why someplace like the Ecology Center, which is not near any residences, why something like that couldn't be put there. I don't know all the mechanics of it or anything, but there's got to be a better place. Not near all of our residences. That's not the place for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Michael.
Thanks. I'll be very brief. I'm the principal at Willard Elementary, and this is a different topic. We've been working for years with the city to bring in a change in traffic flow pattern that'll make our school a lot safer for pickup and drop off. So I thank you all for looking at that. But just also want to let you know that the district is also going to augment, District 65 is also going to augment that project by funding a cutout along Hurd for buses and parent drop off, which will make the whole area much safer for both kids, parents, and anybody visiting our school. So thanks.
Thank you. All right. So the next person is here to speak on off-campus housing. I think your last name is Kelly? After that is Bill Stack, Darlene Cannon, James Engelman. Oh, Claire, is that yours? Sorry?
Apologies.
Are you a teacher? No.
Oops, yes. I'd like to just pass out these packets. So I'm also here this evening out of concern for some of the unfair practices that feel like discriminatory practices within the city in terms of giving residents equal respect in different wards. And I also want to go back to, I wish we could just make it, if we're not going to actually pass, if someone's not going to take up the initiative to see about a lobby ordinance or something along those lines, if we could just make it standard procedure to ask for disclosure of any vested interest, be it material, financial, or employment, whenever, at city council meetings, I think that should be asked at the beginning of the meeting and then again midway through. It's a simple 2-second request. But I think that's important to maintain the integrity of public comment, transparency, and also, of course, that also goes to all aldermen and city staff, that request for disclosure. I'm concerned about everything that everyone just spoke about. I'm also concerned about the process that's happened regarding the rezoning, the text amendment change for the high school's alternative school. I happen to be at Alderman Braithwaite's ward meeting in November when residents asked, what was the status on it? And he very clearly said, oh, don't worry about it. It's probably not even going to go forward. In that previous week, he had ushered through a zoning text amendment change and never informed the residents. Residents spent hours and hours, because it's supposed to be published in a local paper. So residents spent hours going through the Evanston Review, didn't find anything, and lo and behold, when we asked at the last, I think it was Planning and Development, I think it was Scott stated that, oh yeah, it's published in the Evanston Review. He stated that publicly afterwards. He said, well, actually, it was published in the Sun-Times. And you all see there that all of the public notices for the last 6 months of 2017, that's all I had, but every single one is in the Evanston Review, Chicago Tribune. However, the one for the alternative high school, for that Plan Commission meeting, which nobody knew about, and you can see it if you watch the Plan Commission video. It's an empty room except for the high school representatives. That one is published in the Chicago Sun-Times. So I don't know who made that decision or why that decision was made to run that public notice in the Chicago Sun-Times. I think you've heard residents express concern about this, express concern about feeling that they were actually left out of this process, that they were not afforded a public hearing. And so far, we haven't heard anybody express concern from the city or from the high school. I think people should be very concerned about that. This is just one more example of how certain residents are treated in a discriminatory fashion. And I think it's high time we start to acknowledge that and we start to reverse that. And in this case, I think we stop and we say we need to rectify this situation. We need to go back and make it right. I think it was Albert Einstein who said something to the effect of, if you remain silent on this, you all and the high school are guilty of complicity in this discrimination. Thank you.
Next is Bill Stack, then Darlene Cannon, and James Engelman.
Hello. My name is Bill Stack, and I'm currently a resident of Hilda's Place at 1458 Chicago Avenue. I'd like to tell you a story to provide an example of why affordable housing is so important. I come from a big middle-class family. The first place I lived was a 3-bedroom bungalow on the south side of Chicago with 8 of us and a dog living there. We got the dog because I wasn't very good in school. My dad challenged me to get straight A's for a year in order to win a dog as a reward. When I was a teenager, my dad built a bigger house in Glenview, and we moved there when I was just a kid. I worked delivering newspapers and helping my father with his apartment buildings he ran. As I got older, I had restaurant jobs at the state's attorney's office, and other places. I continued to live with my family, as did my siblings. We had our share of conflicts, but we remained a close family. My dad was a very serious diabetic, and he lost his ability to work in 1992. I became a caretaker and did that with no pay. He passed away in 1995. When he died, my mom kept working for about a year. Then she got dementia, and it got really bad, and she lost her job. So I became the primary caregiver again, doing that full-time from 1996 until my brother took her to the mall to walk her when she fell down and broke her hip. She went into a nursing home then, and that was in 2001. Several siblings and I continued to live in the house until my mother passed in 2009. Without steady work history, and other than that work I had done, it was hard to get any regular work. But I did odd jobs, snow shoveling when I could get it. After my mother died, we sold the house, and my brother and I got an apartment together, which we were able to afford for about 10 years. When the money ran out, we lived in a friend's house for a while, and then we lived in my brother's van for 5 weeks. Excuse me. I then came to Connections for the Homeless. My situation now is that I'm looking for a steady job so that I can find a place to live. My hope is to find a good situation and to be able to start a family. I don't have a disability, and I don't qualify for a lot of housing programs and that are out there. And because I have an unusual work history, it could be hard for me to get enough to afford a nice place for a while. So for now, I'm just hoping to find a small, inexpensive place to live. And I know from working with Connections for and joining the forces, there's a shortage of housing like that. When I was young and working for my dad, I almost died when he had me riding in the back of the truck and I fell out. I think maybe God saved me so that I could be here tonight to speak to you about people like me. I'm glad that you're all in Evanston are working on the issue of affordable housing. I hope you'll consider putting a wide range of options in place into consideration for people who aren't disabled, who want to work, but who aren't making enough money to afford most of the housing that already exists. I also hope that you'll look into the shelter for the women. I've noticed that there's a big problem and there aren't enough places for people to go. Thank you. My name is Bill Stack.
Thank you, Mr. Stack. Ms. Cannon?
Good evening. Also in the packet that Claire handed out, there's also Peggy Tarr's article from this week from the Roundtable. So, I mean, first of all, I want to say, give a shout out to my neighbors over there. McDaniel, that was us when, we were railroaded into the house situation. So, I wish them the best of luck. I'm asking you tonight to vote no to the alt school on Hartree and Dempster. As I've previously stated, this process was biased and discriminatory. Discriminatory in the process as well as the placement of the school. As you can see from the paperwork that was handed out, you can see that there were over the last 20 or so public notices from the Plan Commission went out in the Evanston Review. In the Evanston Review and the Tribune. The city has always used this Chicago Tribune for Evanston Review for public notices. You have the notices in your hand. However, for the alt school, they use it sometimes. On camera at the zoning Board of Appeals, Scott Magnum stated publicly that the school that the city published the public hearing for the zoning text amendment in the Evanston Review. However, in private, off camera, he said that it was fact published in the Sun-Times. There's been no discussion about the fact that they talked to us, the residents, in January about the fact that they're going to be busing students from other districts into this school. We, as tax-paying residents of the city of Evanston, expect our elected officials to vote for the will of the people and not their own will. So last, I'm just going to quote one of my favorite authors, James Baldwin, and it says that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. So until we acknowledge and face the discriminatory practices here in Evanston, such as the placement of affordable and supportive housing in minority neighborhoods, placement of alternative schools, and not giving a man who's clearly made mistakes in the past a second chance to open a restaurant. Evanston will only continue to be diverse and welcoming in namesake only. Thank you.
Thank you. So next is James Engelman. Then after that is Irv Chokal, and then Madeline Ducray, then Jay Prince.
Okay. Hello, my name is James Engelman. I'm from the 5th Ward, and I live at 24 Brown. I would like to, you guys to consider accepting the contract for Fleetwood Jordan interior design because they need it badly. I was there a couple of days ago, and I understand. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Irv Chokal. I've been a resident in Evanston for 40 years. Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, City Clerk, and City Council members. I wanted to talk about I was surprised to see the cost of repair of these vehicles that were listed in the agenda. Some of them have had repair costs that double the purchase price. And some very close to that. I don't know if that's normal or not, but if we don't know, I suggest that we look at other communities and see what their experience is in repair costs. I don't know if these vehicles are being abused or not. If they are being abused, can we set up some kind of controls to mitigate that abuse? I also wanted to talk about the criminal history guidance for employment. I feel that some of these are too lenient. For example, felonies after 1 year, I think there's a very short period of time, particularly for drug dealers. Because it says here, intent to deliver controlled substance. That includes drug dealers. So my understanding is drug dealers try to get kids hooked on drugs, and they also have them hold the drugs, because if they're underage, the penalty if they're caught would be a lot less than for the adult drug dealer. So I ask you to review these guidelines and see if they're really appropriate. I just feel they're too lenient. Thank you.
Thank you. Madeline Ducre. Then after Madeline, we'll have, is it Jay Prince, Kiara Kelly, Meg Welch. Here comes Ms. Ducre.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, home. I'm not going to be up here long. I just want to say, the building on Simpson, the restaurant that you guys voted on to get fixed up, I know you know it collapsed, right? Or whatever the heck happened. And I don't believe that the wind blew it down, okay? Even though I heard someone say that's from the news. Tonight, the Fifth Ward people need an explanation, need to know what happened, when, and why from you council members. I don't want to have to hear things on the news when we live right here. We need to know what is happening in our neighborhood. Alderman Robin Simmons, will you please take the lead and let us know what's happening? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jay Prince. Someone by the last name of Prince? Okay, then Kiara Kelly.
I'm Jackie Prince.
Yep.
And I wasn't going to speak tonight. I was going to give my time to somebody else, but a gentleman came up here and he was speaking about connections for the homeless and housing. And I am glad that someone else is speaking about that. And I would like to reiterate that there's no reason that Connections for the Homeless should not be able to house women. They were already designed and had a room for women. They don't have to add extra staff. They only had 8 beds, and I don't understand why it's been about 2 years now that women have not been able to be housed at our one and only sort of official shelter if you don't have children or if you're not married or whatever. So if you guys could please see what's going on with that, I would appreciate it. And as the other gentleman said in regard to affordable housing, it's just hard for everybody, not just the homeless people. And while I'm here, I heard that there's going to be some sort of discussion on panhandling. And it's like, can't you figure out something else to discuss? Because you have people who are at the lowest points of their life. And if they're asking for help and they're asking for money, for you to make a decision not to let them do that is insane. And again, in the courts, it's freedom of speech. You have a right to do that. And why you would even consider taking that away says a whole lot more about you than it does the panhandlers. Thank you. Have a good day.
Next, we have Kiara Kelly and Meg Welch. After Meg Welch, then we have Daniel Stein. Yes, go ahead, Meg.
Kira is passing right now. So I'm here on behalf of my friends in the 2nd and 5th wards just to support their concerns about receiving fair notice for what happens in their neighborhood. We present ourselves as a welcoming city, and part of being a welcoming city is making everyone feel important. And I don't think if a school was going to be built in my ward, I don't live in the 2nd or 5th ward, but I think there would have been plenty of notice. I think it would have been in the Evanston Review. I think it would have been widely discussed. I think people would have had a chance to have input. The residents of the 2nd Ward don't feel that that happened. And also in regard to the pumping station, there is, people don't feel like it was transparent. And so I would just like to please ask all of you to follow common courtesy, but also the rule of law here. You know, people are concerned on a national level what's happening with the rule of law, what's happening with transparency. It starts small. These little small transgressions get bigger and bigger, and that will also happen in the city, get bigger and bigger. So please just don't be expedient. Please be democratic.
Thank you. Daniel Stein.
Hello, Council. Daniel Stein, 2542 Lawndale. Actually, I'm not at this point talking about the Robert Crown project. I wanted to talk about the pumping station. I'm very mindful and understanding the process might not have been perfect, but when the project came in front of Rec Board, I don't really think of it as much as a pumping station as the splash park. And really, one of the problems we've had in Rec Board over the years is the city working in silos. So I really do hear your concerns and understand it, and I think more conversation has to happen. But when you, like at Looking Glass Theater in the city, which is a theater that's actually built as part of the City of Chicago pumping station, it's a wonderful use of resources, and we're always worried at Rec Board about how we're going to do more with less. So I think mistakes might have been made in the process, but from our understanding, the pumping station is just a vehicle to transfer water out of Evanston, and it'll be a shared infrastructure with the splash park, which is, we feel, an amenity that that ward deserves. So again, I think more conversations are necessary, but in all, I think they're very good intentions there. That's all.
Thank you. Okay. Everyone, let's be respectful of everyone else, please. Next is Robertson, then Madeline Gibbs. Someone's last name is Robertson? Okay. Or something similar to that are Madeline Gibbs, then Carolyn Murray, and Ray Friedman. I'm sorry.
Madeline went already. She heard names because she was running late.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Carolyn Murray. I'm 1930 Gray, Council, City Manager, City Clerk. So thus far, I've noticed that there has been public concern about the communication or the lack thereof of communication. And it seems to be that these public notices don't seem to get out like they were traditionally. I will again remind the aldermen that a ward meeting is not a public notice. It's just not. And the affected areas in the perimeter surrounding the changes, we are supposed to receive a letter. I've lived in Evanston all my life, and there's usually a letter for a fence down the street, so why wouldn't we have a letter coming to our home to notify us of any existing changes in the ward or the community? So the voice of the people that have complained about not having the notice for the voting meeting for minimum wage, as well as the notice of the information for the new site for the restaurant that just recently blew away, as well as the notice for the people that are here tonight for the water pump. It's consistent. There is a problem. There's a lack of communication on the city's part. And if it need be that the community overall get together and file a class action lawsuit, then maybe that is what it's going to be, to send a message to you that the way that you go about the communication to the public is not legally documented. We have seniors in our ward that don't have access to a computer at all. Telephones, meetings, they need to know. And there is efficient public recommendations that we can make to make a communication more effective. And if you don't know, then why don't you ask us, and maybe we can give you some tips on how to communicate with us. But the after the fact, with making these announcements or making these plans without the community being aware of it, it's not efficient and it's not transparent. So again, supporting Madeline Gibbs, who mentioned about the site and not even having the recognition of the public meetings, and then this restaurant bypassing 2 committees and moving forward. I question the fact that you have inspectors at the other site for the gentleman that was proposing the site at Ramsey's. He was inspected most of the time. It was reported that the gentleman removed the roof on Friday and locked the building. So where were the city inspectors then? Because there's no way that structure would have been able to hold up. So let's be consistent, let's be transparent, and let's see the same level of inspection and integrity that you offer to someone who is not deemed fit to have a site with the same site that blew down in the wind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Friedman is our last speaker. Ray, Mr. Friedman, you're our last speaker tonight. Well, you are. Sorry.
Okay. Good evening, City Council. It's great that all of us are being proactive in trying to address injustice, bureaucracy, and just plain lack of consideration for the citizens here in Evanston. After the council, past and present, have spent years writing, discussing, and passing all the codes, ordinances, and laws that we all have to follow, we all don't understand why they are not being followed. It appears to me that the City Council is starting to listen, but then we need some action to be taken. At the very least, we need some feedback on our comments from City Council meetings. It's great that someone is listening, but it doesn't help if nothing gets done about it. And we all are very frustrated at the way things are going, and at times it feels like 74,000 Evanston residents against 9 aldermen. I guess we need to keep repeating to our elected officials that they are supposed to be representing us. It's our community, our homes, our schools, our quality of life that is at stake here. Once again, we need a date for us to present our appeal for this Howe proposal. We've been waiting 4 months now. Okay, the decision for our appeal can only come from City Council. It can't come from Johanna Leonard, and it can't come from Michelle Massencup. It has to go before the City Council. We need a date to present our appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Alderman Rainey, can you present us with the consent agenda?
Be happy to. Thank you. The consent agenda, Madam Pro Tem. First item is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of council meetings, that's plural, of January 22, January 29, February 12, and February 19. The Administration and Public Works Committee met this evening, and I ask for your approval of the payroll of January 22 through February 4 in the amount of $3,079,462.01. The bills through February 27, 2018, the amount of $1,520,935.04. We have held in committee the pilot landlord rehabilitation assistance program. The A 3.2, purchase of police, fire, and administrative services vehicles from Curry Motors. 4 items, four Fords and 1 Chevrolet will be allocated to the Evanston Police Department Field Operations Division. 2 Fords will be allocated to the Fire Department Administrative Division, and 1 Ford will be allocated to the Administrative Services Division, purchased from Curry Motors in the amount of $238,418.89. We ask your approval for a 1-year contract renewal for the purchase of emergency lighting, sirens, and aftermarket products and services in the amount of $80,960 to Havey Communications. Funding will be as follows: $40,480 from one account and $40,480 from another account. This is for action. The City Council is being asked to approve or accept and place on file the criminal history of an eligibility policy. Pursuant to Alderman Fleming's request, staff has met with Alderman Fleming and various community members to review the current hiring policies related to prospective applicants with criminal records and to update the policy to conformance with best practices. In accordance with recommendation from I think this was Alderman Braithwaite. We're asking that you accept and place on file the proposal of reimbursement and payment policy. Staff has modeled and proposed the policy based on Illinois Administrative Code, which establishes that all complaints for the recovery of damages shall be filed within a maximum 2-year time limit from the time that the produce, commodity, or services as to which the complaint is made was furnished and performed. This is for acceptance and placement on file. We're asking you to authorize the city manager to execute a 1-year contract extension for debris hauling with G&L Contractors in the amount of $81,000. The rate of $38,000 budgeted from the water fund and $38,000 budgeted from the sewer fund, with $5,000 budgeted from the general fund. This is for action. We're asking you to approve the manager executing a 1-year lease, 1-year contract extension for the purchase of granular materials with G&L Contractors in the amount of $37,000. Which the bid is part of the Municipal Partnering Initiative. Purchase of materials under this contract will be funded as follows: $21,000 from the water fund and $16,000 from the sewer fund. That's for action. We're asking you to authorize the manager to execute a contract for service center parking deck restoration with Monson Nicholas, Inc. in the amount of $526,074. Funding will be provided by the Capital Improvement Program, general obligation bonds, $500,000 from one account and $26,074 from another account. We're asking approval for the manager to execute a contract for Lovelace Park Pond Rehab with Summit Construction Company in the amount of $107,000. Lovelace Tennis Court Rehab. We're asking for authorization for the city manager to proceed with the Lovelace Tennis Court Rehab for construction in 2018. Funding for the proposed project will be provided from the CIP program, general obligation bonds. This is for action. Sole source contract with Design for Dignity for interior design services for the Fleetwood Jourdain Community Center in the amount of $35,000 is being requested. Funding for this project will be provided from the Good Neighbor Fund. We're asking for your approval for this. A312 is for action tonight. It's a contract with Bully and Andrews for construction management services for the Robert Crown Community Center Ice Complex and Library. The initial contract recommendation is for pre-construction services only in the amount of $41,510. A recommendation for construction services will occur upon successful completion of the pre-construction phase, completion of the project's design, documentation, and negotiation of the construction price. So anyway, this is for action. Next is for introduction. The council is being requested to introduce Ordinance 348018, authorizing the city to borrow funds from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, IEPA, Public Water Supply Loan Program for the construction of the Clearwell 9 replacement project. This ordinance authorizes the city to borrow up to $25 million. The debt service will be paid from the water fund. That's for introduction, as I mentioned. Next is Ordinance 11018. We're recommending the council introduce Ordinance 11018, which amends Title I, Chapter 8 of the City Code to reflect current city operations with respect to the Finance Division. For introduction and action is Ordinance 32018, decreasing the number of Class D liquor licenses from 51 to 50 for Kabul House located at 2424 Dempster. They are not renewing their liquor license. Ordinance 31018, amending the city code, creating the new Class X license, which, when created, will allow arts and crafts studios to sell beer and wine for on-site consumption at arts and crafts studios. A8 is for introduction, and the local liquor commissioner and staff recommend that we introduce.
This item is off.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Thank you,
I
Alderman
should
Whitman.
remember that. That is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Ordinance 20018 is, let's see, Ordinance 20018 is off. Ordinance 10018 is for action, amending the city code to include civil restitution. City staff recommends the council adopt Ordinance 10018, amending the code general penalties to include civil restitution by order of the court, and add civil restitution to the penalties available for city code violations, and allows a court to order restitution beyond the maximum fine amount. Civil restitution may only be ordered by a court after a finding of guilt or guilty plea by a defendant. Ordinance 26018, the local liquor commission providing a recommendation to the City Council regarding the adoption of Ordinance 26018 to increase the number of authorized Class F licenses from 9 to 10, and permits issuance of a Class F license to Target Corporation, doing business as Target, located at 1616 Sherman Avenue, for action. Mayor Pro Tem, I move this part of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay.
All right, planning and development, that's me.
Would you take P1 off, please, Alderman Nguyen?
P1?
Oh, P1, oh, I can't, you take it off.
All right, yes. Okay. Item P2, vacation rental license for 710 Madison Street, has been removed from our agenda at the request of the applicant. Item P3 is ordinance 21018, special use permit for a
Take that
special.
off, please.
That's off as well. That is, completes the P&D agenda. So with that, City Clerk, would you call the roll on the consent agenda?
Alderman Suffredin. Aye. Alderman Ravel. Aye. Alderman Rainey. Aye. Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman, do I call the mayor pro tem?
Just call me Wynn.
Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
And Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
All right, with that, the consent agenda passes. Yes. Now, Alderman Rainey will go to the item.
Oh, yeah.
There was an item that was.
I took a break there. Okay.
Item A8.
Yes, ma'am. Well, A3.1, we held in committee.
Oh, yes, I see that, yes.
And and the other one, A8, I don't really know what happened with that one.
Well, I can provide an
Okay.
explanation. This is the F2 liquor license, the creation of an F2 liquor license for Binny's, and at the request of Binny's, they asked that this be not withdrawn from the agenda this evening and presented at the next city council meeting. Then I believe the next one, Alderman Rainey, is A9. That was taken off.
No,
it wasn't.
Did I take that? It was accidental. No, I didn't, not take it off.
No, it was not taken off?
Maybe it was off. I will move it if it was taken off.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was taken off.
All right. Ordinance, that was accidental. Ordinance 20018, amending city code to allow for one-way traffic flow during Willard School drop-off and pickup hours on Hurd Street and Central Park. I move approval.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
It's an ordinance.
I think we do need to have a roll call for that.
Alderman Suffredin. Aye. Alderman Ravel. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
And Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Apologies.
All right. The item passes unanimously. All right, then, moving on to P&D, item P1, vacation rental license for 1827 Dobson Street. I move approval.
Second.
Alderman Rainey? Oh, excuse me, Alderman Fisk. I apologize.
Thank you, Alderman Nguyen. I asked for this to come off the consent agenda because I'm not in support of it. I feel very uncomfortable about vacation rentals when that are not owner occupied. I think there's a lot more work that we need to do on these, and so therefore I will be voting no.
Thank you.
And I would like to speak to it, too.
Oh, yes, Alderman Rainey?
Yeah, I don't know what the letter said that went to the neighbors, which is one thing. And two, I'm certain that the letter did not say, I will never be living in this home again. I don't have a problem if the home was not going to be occupied by the owner for 2 or 3 days that someone was going to be staying there. But I do have a problem that the home is never going to be occupied again by the owner while somebody's staying there. So that's one thing. Second thing, the way the distance was determined, only 2 people on all of Dobson were notified. The distance was done across Dodge. She lives in the 1800 block. So the distance was done across Dodge, down the alley to Brummel. Nothing down. I don't like the way the distance was done. It wasn't done in a circumference. And so that's a concern of mine. I want to know more about how we're doing this. I didn't like the information that I received. I think it must be the first one that's been done in my ward. Didn't get a letter that showed me her letter to the neighbors. Didn't get a letter, didn't get information who was notified. So I just felt that I was shortchanged on information. But I really like the woman doing it. She's very friendly.
All right, I see Alderman Fisk.
And
But I agree with
that
you.
was up here. No,
We
yeah.
never intended for people to move out of their homes permanently.
Right. And I don't know that we have an occupancy limit. I don't know. I mean, after 30 days, and I'm just looking at possible abuses of this. I'm not saying that they're going to happen, but these are the questions that surround this that I think that we have not looked at seriously. And I feel so uncomfortable about it that I will continue to vote no for any non-owner occupied vacation rental.
Alderman Revelle.
Well, I agree that we do need to address these issues, but it seems to me we've already been approving some of the vacation rentals, allowing them to be not owner-occupied. And I guess I thought we were going to be basically allowing these applications to go forward, but we need to really get our rules and regulations figured out, and then so this year is kind of like a trial period and just letting these applications be approved. But we need to really get to work starting to figure out some rules that we feel more comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, I see no more lights. The motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, so the motion carries. The next item is P3, Ordinance 21018, Special Use Permit for a Special Education Institution public in the I-2 General Industrial Zoning District. I move approval. Okay. Alderman Rainey.
Well, I've voted against this at every step of the way, but I've just voted against it basically. But I would like to speak to it. And probably most people don't know why, other than the council, why I'm speaking against it. The reason I'm speaking against it is because the city of Evanston spent, I know, several $100,000 defending the Industrial 2 district against a lawsuit where an educational use wanted to go into an Industrial 2 district. And the reason we did that is to keep that district from being violated by a not-for-profit educational use. An Industrial 2 district is more or less sacred, and in that it provides for heavy-duty uses, industrial uses that bring more taxes, that provide more innovative uses that aren't allowed in most other districts. So we did that, and we won a very important case. And when you alter a district like an I-2 district, it's not just that district that is being, it's not just the place in question, it's all the districts that are I-2 districts. So what happened here, I think, was who the applicant was and who the owner of the property was. Here we have a very wealthy, pretty well-known owner who had a big old space and a 10-year lease opportunity. Along comes Evanston High School, well known to everybody, and they convinced some people that, we've got a big space here, we want 10-year lease, and the owner convinced some people that this would be a good place. How these other uses in this building got away with it, I don't know, but Evanston High School knew better The people at Evanston High School, some of them involved, were city employees before. And now we have one of those people working right here, in another capacity. That they violated the effort made by the city of Evanston and secured 8 of the aldermen on this council and the zoning board of appeal, the zoning department, to get this change, I just think is just heartbreaking, to me at least. So now we're going to have an educational use, which was approved by the entire zoning board. I think it was unanimous. So all the I-2 districts are now going to allow educational use. And all the members of the zoning board, shame on you. Shame on our staff for not giving good direction. And when you read the directions given by the zoning board, given by the zoning staff, I truly believe if the direction had been more clear, there would have been people on the zoning board that would have thought differently. But instead, it looked like they had one of 2 decisions to make, and they didn't have another choice. So the decision was made, and I think they just made a wrong-headed decision, and I think this council made a political decision. We like ETHS, and we like these people, and we want to make it easy for them. And instead, and they figured, well, they're telling us it's not a tax issue, so that's what happened. And, it costs the city hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend that case. And then the first opportunity we get, we caved in. We absolutely caved in. And now we watered down the zoning ordinance that cities across the country were very proud that we defended. And just very wrong-headed, and I'm almost embarrassed for us.
All right, Alderman Braithwaite, then Alderman Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm going to ask Mary from the high school just to step forward, please, while I make my comments. Alderman Rainey, often we agree on things, and I think this is going to be one of those nights where we're going to be
it's not a matter of agreeing.
on opposite ends of the fence.
It's totally political.
Please, I have the mic. Thank you. I always say that the second ward is the most racially and economically diverse wards in the city of Evanston. I actually take a lot of pride in that.
It has nothing to do.
Pardon me, Alderman Rainey, I have the mic. Thank you. I see this as a very unique opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to really take care of our kids in the community that traditionally have been bused outside of the city of Evanston. I do see this very differently than what Alderman Rainey described, in that the high school, and if I miss anything, Mary, please fill in the gaps, is paying taxes for this property, number one. Number two, I don't have the math in front of me, but eventually there will be a cost savings for not having to bus our kids that live here in the community, families that pay taxes in the community, outside of the community to be educated. I see these uses in line, and I know for those of you that are on P&D, you are familiar, but I think it's worth sharing again. And probably the only school use that's new to that area is the swim school, which I thought was a pretty unique thing. When Reed Beigler first told me they were going to put a swim school in a building, I thought he was nuts, but it happened, and it's working very well, and people are loving it. But again, just to remind you, these schools have been there for years. The Child Care Center, Alderman Rainey, has been there for years. There's Rimland Services that provides support to autistic adults, as well as Have Dreams that also provides assistance to autistic families. I think the range with Rimland is a little bit, yeah, and if I need to clarify that during your comments, please feel free. And I guess to the residents, and it's really unfortunate that some of them have left, it amazes me that on 3 blocks distance, we have over 3,000 kids, and I don't know what the ratio is, but here that is, again, 3 blocks away, we will have 22 kids with a staff ratio of what? For every 3 kids, there's going to be 1 staff?
Probably closer to 2 to 1, I would say overall.
Initially.
2 to 1. And so for most of us who go to work in the day, you probably would never even see these kids come to school and leave. And so I reject the notion in any statement that for whatever reason adding these 22 kids is putting a strain, or for someone once used the word ghetto, and I didn't want to repeat it, but it's just so ridiculous that I have to say it, that somehow by the high school housing 22 kids who are in the process of transitioning back into high school, who will have access to sports, access to the amenities, things they would not be able to do if they were currently bused outside the community, is a bad thing. So I am in full support of this, and I don't know, I'm just so frustrated right now. I'm going to yield the mic to you just to maybe clear up a couple of things. I think the most important thing is the demographics of the kids that are going to be served. And I'll also ask you the question for those who felt like we didn't have enough notification. When was the first time that the high school had a public discussion about this topic? Thank you, Mary.
Madam Pro Tem, I would like to respond. I'm a member of the council. I'd like to respond. Okay, I've heard the report. I'm having a debate with my colleague.
May I
please?
I did ask a specific question that I would like a response to, and then if Alderman Rainey
I know,
would like to make comments.
Alderman Rainey, after Alderman Wilson, I will call on you. I have other
okay.
people
All
on
right.
the list.
All right.
But I'd like to hear they've been asked a question by Alderman Braithwaite.
Okay,
I think it's fine for them to provide an answer.
Okay. I don't want to speak to the city's process as far as the individual meetings. I think that Dr. Walls can address, if you'd like, address the demographics in general of our off-campus students. However, I just want to say first that it doesn't matter to us because we've always considered these our kids. They're our kids. They're your kids.
Yep.
And, our main campus is 3 blocks away. So we're in the same neighborhood that we're talking about. So that I just wanted to state that. But I wanted to also say that this was not the first site we looked at. This was the 3rd site we looked at. We have been to 9 city meetings on this topic. Sure. Every meeting from the Plan Commission, DAPR twice, P&D 3 times, Council twice, ZBA. So we also attended the ward meeting. 117 notices were sent out on the special use application to neighbors within 500 feet of the entire building. As you all know, it's a huge building, not just our entrance on Hartree. And those same 117 neighbors were invited to a coffee at ETHS on January 9th, I believe. 6 people showed up, and we had 6 administrators and 6 residents, and we conducted the meeting and answered every question we were asked. Yes, there is a lease. It's a 10-year lease. It's not a huge space. It's about 6,500 square feet, and this particular office suite has been vacant for multiple years.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many years,
Yeah.
but it's been years. So those are the things I wanted to address. And then, did you want to know the demographic makeup of the off-campus students?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to share also.
Sure.
Thank you.
So currently, our demographics are about 60% white, 30% black, and the rest of the students are a combination of Latino, Asian, and 2 or more races.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
So would you like us to stay up for the other comments?
No, I think we're fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. And Alderman Braithwaite, you covered far and away the vast majority of the points I wanted to make. But in making this decision, it's clear that this property has evolved from what it once was. And you can see there used to be a rail line there, and this was heavy industrial area. But it's clearly not any longer. You ran through the list of other businesses, education-oriented. But at the end of the day, the thing that really is compelling to me is that this is about giving the kids in our community the best opportunity to succeed that they can get. and it's close to the high school. And I still am puzzled, first of all, the whole transparency thing, the representative went through a list of the, meetings, processes. If you wanted to have a chance to say something, I think certainly you had a chance to say something about this. We don't always like everything that happens around us, and that's just how life is. Sometimes things happen around us that we wouldn't prefer. But I would guess that far and away the vast majority of the time is that it's not as bad as we fear it will be. But in this situation, this is about providing an educational opportunity for kids in our community instead of shipping them out. These are kids that have struggles of one kind or another, and when I think about it, the message we would send to them and sending them somewhere else as if it's not our problem, that doesn't feel good. These are members of our community, and we should be looking out for them in our community. So that's what went into my decision. It wasn't any, that the high school is special or anything like that. This is about members of our community and serving them the best we can.
Alderman Rainey.
So obviously you've not heard a word I've said. This should have been rezoned. It shouldn't have been amended. It should have been rezoned. It should have been rezoned. You have never heard me use in my entire life the word ghetto. Not in my...
No.
Don't interrupt me.
No. This
Not
is
in my entire life.
I'll take a point of privilege. I will take a point of privilege to be clear. Never said you made that statement.
You implied it.
No.
You put
not from you.
Just
not
let
from
me
you.
finish.
Not
Let
from
me
you.
finish. I think their approach to this has been brilliant. There has been notice upon notice. Everything has been done perfectly, except for the fact they violated the zoning district. That's what they did. They should have gone in and had a request to have a map change, instead they have taken every I-2 district and violated it. Now a school can go in to any, and it's just absolutely so facetious when you say, well, there's a swim school there, so why can't there be Evanston High School there? There is no correlation between an educational use and a swim school. There is no correlation. No court in the world will say that. And you're embarrassing yourself as a lawyer for using that comparison. There is no correlation. So that's the problem here. We didn't spend $100,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make that correlation. And that's what is so upsetting, that they did that. And, I'm really sorry that Beidler had to, sit there with all those years with a 6,000 square foot vacancy. There should have been a change in the map. Instead we did. And do you know that 95% of every zoning district in the city of Evanston allows for an educational use? And they picked the one that doesn't? There's probably closer districts to the Evanston High School where they could have put a school. And the one district, I district where you can't put a school.
Right.
That's been my That's been my concern. And I will never give this one up, never. And I can't imagine anybody who wasn't thinking, other than like you all are thinking, that wouldn't agree with me.
All right, Alderman Wilson, and then...
No. Just a quick point. Alderman Rainey, I do very clearly understand your point, but I and others weren't on the council when that prior decision was made by the council that ended up in litigation. And
Yes, you were.
not when you made the decision to proceed in the way you proceeded. So, and not everybody on this council was there.
There are people on this committee who went to court with us.
There are people on the committee, but this whole council was not. It's a different council. is my
Let's
point.
continue.
So it's a different council, and things have changed and things have evolved, and that's the point. These areas aren't factories anymore, and I think we have to start thinking a little more broadly on what constructive uses we're going to be able to get out of these properties. That's it. It's a decision. You don't have to agree with it, and I understand that I understand
You
your
don't
point.
have to be a factory to be an I2.
All right, let us move forward and vote on this. Okay. This is a voice vote. Does this is special use doesn't require a roll call?
It's an ordinance.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me, it does call. New at this.
Alderman Suffredin?
Aye.
Alderman Ravel?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey?
No.
Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson? Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes, what are we, 8-1?
No.
7-1.
No.
What?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, that concludes our agenda, and now we come to call of the wards. So first I'll call on Alderman Suffredin. Alderman Ravel.
Yes, just real briefly, everyone's invited to a 7th Ward meeting on Thursday, March 8th. We have a big agenda. We'll hear from our library director, Karen Danzig-Lyons. We're going to hear about emergency preparedness briefing for what residents can do to be prepared. We're going to have another update on the Sheridan Road Improvement Project, which is just around the corner. Anyway, encourage everybody to come at the Ecology Center, 7 p.m., March 8th.
Alderman Rainey.
No report.
Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 27th of February, correct me if I'm wrong, is our air roof meeting?
Yes, tomorrow night.
Okay, that's tomorrow night at
the Parasol Room.
Parasol Room at 7 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And so everyone's invited to that. If you don't know what air roof is, then come and find out.
And it's spelled E-R-U-V.
E-R-U-V. And there is a First Ward meeting on the first Tuesday in March, which is March 6th, from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Evanston Public Library. And please come to that. Thanks.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to give a special shout out to staff and the large number of black businesses that turned out for the February 24th event this past weekend at the Levy Center. I thought it was a tremendous success. I was there with Alderman Simmons, and I think the mayor was also participated in the bus tour. But every year the event continues to grow, and I think this year we had another great turnout. The merchants were able to sell their goods, and I hope that we can do more activities like that. So special thanks to Paulina for all of her hard work, as well as the Administrative and Public Works Committee that supported allowing the businesses to sell their merchandise. Thank you.
Alderman Wilson.
So our community is a little less special than it was a week ago when we lost Carla Willis, who lived in Evanston. Carla was a lot of things to a lot of people, a wife, a mother, and a fierce and tireless advocate for many issues of particular relevance, I guess, recently with regard to gun violence. And we are definitely going to miss Carla. So my condolences to her family.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Thank you. On February 28th, we will have the pumping station before Dapper, 2525 Church Street is the address. And on the 15th of March, we will have our 5th Ward meeting. It will be here at the Civic Center in the Parasol Room.
And my report is that I will be holding my office hours first Thursday of the month. That's March 1st, this coming Thursday from 7 to 10 a.m. at Brothers K. Anyone is welcome to come. I'll be there. And that, I believe, concludes our agenda. And Alderman Wilson, will you take us into executive session?
Microphone. I move pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes, ILCS 120/2A, that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel, collective bargaining, litigation, and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, C2, C11, and C21. Is there a second? Okay.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Suffredin. Alderman Ravel. Alderman Rainey.
Maybe.
Alderman Fleming. I'm sorry. Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
And Alderman Ruth Simmons.
All right. That's 8-0. We are moving into an executive session. Thank you, everyone, for coming.